Which way, Western Gamer? Which way? All right. Okay, so we're definitely going to talk about this.
Administration.
I need to use the bathroom, though, so I'm going to be right back. Do I need coffee? Yes, I need coffee. So I shall return post-haste. Stand by, stand by, stand by. We'll be right back. Alrighty, boys. Here we go. All right, so got fresh coffee. Cheers. Dink. I want to get through this, and then I want to get into some Star Trek. Star Trek. I got extra time to stream today, so basically, I think today I have extra time to stream. I think it's my day to work out, so whenever I get off, I'm gonna go do that. We're gonna get into this. Do they wonder why we call them fascists? Maybe it's because they're governing like fascists. Fed funding will go to schools that teach patriotism. Patriotism fascist?
Also fighting to get critical race theory out of our school districts.
Based.
Children will be taught to love America. Children will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values.
Mega based. Mega based. The love for the country, I do agree with that, but you really shouldn't be teaching love for country. More like you should love the country that we aspire to be. So fair enough on that one. But civic values, let's hear that again.
We taught civic values for schools that want federal taxpayer funding.
Civic values, 100%.
So as we close the Department of Education and we provide funding to states, we are going to make sure that these funds are not being used to promote communist ideology.
Fucking based. Like, oh my fucking God. Let's hear it, baby. Fucking you're right, dude.
For any nation to be successful, it cannot teach its children to hate themselves, and to hate their country. Administrations cannot teach its children to hate themselves and to hate their country.
You know why you're losing the optics war when you call motherfuckers like this, when you call this fascism? Because that's not fascism. This is called common goddamn sense. And it really has become a fucking meme now, the party of common sense, even though they're not. Let's just be real. All that's mostly propaganda. But this is the problem when you stand against this, because you could call this out without going full retard. And the problem is that all of Blue Team just constantly goes full retard all the time. Like, they just will not fucking stop doing it. Like, even I never go full retard, right? Even I never go full retard. Let me see if I can get it. Does it have it? Yeah, it does. Okay. You ready? You ready? So, I keep saying this about them going and always pivoting to Nazi, fascist, all this stuff. It is okay to indoctrinate your children to love their country. It is okay to do that. You have to indoctrinate them into something because they're children. So if you don't indoctrinate them to love your country, someone else will indoctrinate them to hate their fucking country or to love somebody else's country or ideology or whatever. And not only that, why is it a bad thing to love America? America is one of the greatest countries to have ever existed on the planet. We are one of the only inspirational countries that exists to this day. One of the few constitutional republics that has yet to fall to true and utter tyranny or into military juntas or any of that other bullshit. They make all their good points look as silly as their bad points. Thank you. That's exactly it. Why is that not popping up? Oh, apparently my stuff hasn't been on stream all day. Whoops. I thought I turned that on. My bad. Yes, that's exactly right. They just make all of their good points look as silly as their bad points. 100%. And because almost like the only problem I have with what this dude said was this.
Will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values. Children will be taught to love America.
That's the only real problem I have. You shouldn't be teaching them to love America necessarily, right? Like, cause it's like that does creep into that kind of like pseudo fucking authoritarian stuff, right? Fascism, communism, all of that stuff, right? It does. But we're talking about children. So what you want to do is you want to like, so I would say that like saying it like that is a little problematic, but not much, because think about it like this. One of the reasons that I love America and the West in general is because we realize that, you know, empire building, especially the old way of doing it, is bad. Slavery, it's bad, okay? Bad, right? Civil rights, good. Civil rights for all peoples that are citizens of your country, good. When it used to not be that way, right? The United States used to not even be a country. It used to be a fucking monarchy. Colonies of a monarchy, right? And we turned from that into a federated union of states, into a more closely knit federated union of states after the Civil War. And we are literally the epitome of the liberal ideals taken to their natural conclusion, as far as having a representative republic and a relatively free market economy together, right? So we not only banned slavery, we freed our slaves, and we paid blood to do it. We didn't just make it a law and then it just happened. No. We fought to make it happen. And the man that did that, the man that did all that stuff, laughs at your bullshit about Trump being a tyrant. This man jailed journalists. He jailed people on state and federal legislature. So that means so imagine Trump put Nancy Pelosi in jail because she disagreed with him on foreign policy. That's what he did. He suspended habeas corpus so you could be held without charge. So you had no right to a speedy trial. He shut down newspapers and jailed the journalists and owners. I mean, he not only that, you know how they bitch about January 6th and how they were shutting down a government event and that makes it like special? Well, one of the reasons he jailed his political opponents is to keep them from voting. And we celebrate this man. Now, of course, you know, he did pay for his crimes with his life. There's that. Not that I'm happy about that, because I too wonder, would the United States have stayed together had he not done such things? Were not such extreme things called for and or required? Did he go too far? Maybe making a secret police force, the first modern day secret police force that, you know, the Nazis would use to make the Gestapo. Maybe that was a bit too far, you know, to hunt down his political opponents and put them in jail, political dissenters, and put them in jail, you know, with no charges for as long as they deemed necessary. So like I said, the one part that I do have a problem with is the love America. It's like, I mean, sure, I do think you should love America, especially if you were born here and you're a citizen, because especially if you weren't born here, you literally came here to become a citizen. Why would you not love this country? That makes no sense, right? Like if I wanted to immigrate and go live in another country, why would I not learn to love it? Or why would I immigrate there if I didn't? You know what I'm saying? Now, it's definitely one of those things, like if you've been fucked over enough by the system, of course you're going to fucking hate your country. Absolutely, 100%. But when we're talking about school kids and we're talking about indoctrinating them into what it is to be an American, because you have to indoctrinate them into something, because if you don't, somebody else will. So think about that. So if you're a good boy and you're a nice liberal person, right? You believe in freedom of speech, you know, gun rights, rights of minorities, all these things, you should indoctrinate your children into that. You should indoctrinate your children into believing that our republic is a good thing, and we should continue it, and we should continually make it better. That's the best part, right? That's the whole point of what I'm talking about, is that we've gone from worse to getting better. We still have flaws, absolutely. All this bullshit going on currently is proof that we still have absolutely horrendous flaws. But because we have a self-correcting system, both economically and governmentally, we can get better over time. The more iterations we have, the more chances we have of getting better. One of the reasons that I think we do so in America is because of how our political system works, where each time an administration comes in or out, it's like a bloodless coup, except the coup is by the people, right? And it's not some fucking political machination going on somewhere. We literally like swap power from Trump to Biden and back, from Obama to Trump, from Bush to fucking Obama, from Clinton to Bush, and from Bush to fucking Clinton, right? We constantly do it. And we're still here. We're still functioning. And it seems to kind of work. And we really should indoctrinate our kids to believe that America is a good thing, and that our republic is a good thing, and that if they find flaws in it, and we should tell them the flaws, especially as they get older and learn more about it. You absolutely should learn more about slavery and how bad it was. You should absolutely learn about the Trail of Tears. I did. I learned about the Trail of Tears. I learned about slavery. You know what I didn't learn a lot about? Fucking communism. I wonder why. It's kind of weird. Anyway, I digress. We didn't learn that much about Nazism either. The reason I know so much about Nazism and communism is because I watch the History Channel because I'm a fucking nerd. Because Star Trek wasn't on. And it's fun to watch and it's fun to listen to it while you play fucking Mario, right? Anyway. But we should be indoctrinating our kids to love our country, or to respect our country and to want to improve it. And I do believe that comes to love. But I don't believe we should tell them you should love the country, because that's probably a little bit too far. So, like I said, maybe that's a misspeak, things like that. But how is it fascist? Because if you live in like Star Trek, right? Let's say you lived in Star Trek. The Federation is the moral force for good in the entire known universe. It is. We are good boys in the Federation. Should you not indoctrinate your children to love it? Should you not tell them that this is worth continuing, that this is worth saving, this is worth your effort, this is worth your adoration, because it is good, and we have built it so that you can take it and you can have it and you can use it to be good in the future and be better than you are. Why should we not? And if the Federation can do it, and if it's good for the Federation to do it, because it obviously is good, right? They are literally the good boys. Like in that universe, they are the good boys, the goodiest of good boys. They're always the good boys, except when they're not. And so you would absolutely want to spread fucking luxury space communism as far as you could go. They don't conquer people. They spread through culture. You interact with people. You show them respect. They show you respect back. They learn your culture, and they think, yeah, this democracy shit is a lot better than this fucking feudal bullshit we got here. Maybe we should try some of that. That's a good thing. That's a fucking good thing. And do you know who the Federation is based on? It's based on a combination of two things: the United Nations and the United States of America. Why? Because duh. Because fucking duh. In goal is to destroy the country? Yeah, it basically is. They want a communist revolution. And they have nothing to replace it with. Just like the incels who are cheering on all the Trump tariffs squeezing the economy down, it's the same deal. And I talked about this before. They think their life is shit now. They don't know nothing yet, dude. They don't know what the fuck they're asking for. And it's funny and ironic, so I laugh at them because they're fucking stupid. But, as if something is worth loving, you'd love it organically, and you don't need to be told or taught to love the organization or education. I don't know. That might have been true before mass internet. Because you got to remember, you're being brainwashed every day by the shit that you watch and the shit that you consume. So if your kid is watching TikToks all day of communists hating on America and showing them a lopsided view of the things that America is versus what it truly is, they're already being indoctrinated. And so they're not getting any of that other information. Right? So how can they truly love it for what it is if they never find out what it is? Because they don't consume that kind of content. Yes, but the vast majority of people don't even think about that kind of thing. Like, most people aren't actually taught civic values and things like that. So the only time they actually care is when the country is bad to them. When the country is good to them, it doesn't matter, because almost everybody will say, "Oh, I did this myself. You know, I built my business. I did this." So when Barack Obama says you didn't build that, even though he's technically correct, he sounds like a douchebag. But he is technically correct, because the only reason you were allowed to build your business is because the rest of us also pay taxes, which built the roads, which built the electrical system, which built the entire supply chain that allows you to get all the shit to build your fucking place and put all the machinery inside of it. And then all the workers were trained and educated in the American system, which was paid for by fucking taxes. Like, every single step of the way, your business was helped along. The thing that you created was helped along by the fact that all of us pay fucking taxes. Your workers are educated because of taxes. Your roads are built because of taxes. The electrical grid that you have is built because of taxes. It's paid for by taxes. We all fucking paid for your shit to be built. You just had the impetus to invest a bunch of money into it, which is why you should keep it and why it's yours. But you should also remember that it was a community effort, that it wasn't just you, right? And that's why you should give back. The same way with me. If I made a lot of money, I would absolutely have no problem paying the taxes. I wouldn't like it, but I'm not going to have a problem with it when I feel like my country has definitely been good to me, because I wouldn't be in this situation if it wasn't. And so therefore I should give more back. And when I made a lot of money, that's literally how I thought. I hated the fact that I paid so much in taxes. Like, it was crazy, but I still did overtime. I still did tons of it. Not only because I wanted and needed the money, but it's like, it is what it is, man. It's like I said, they pay for the roads, pays for the schools, all the shit in my life. That's great. The fact that I have video games, the fact that I have the internet, it's all because we pay taxes. Doesn't mean I have to like it, and doesn't mean I can't want it to be more efficient. But that's still the truth. If you teach kids to judge things well enough, that won't work on them as well. I disagree. That's not how the human mind works. Not how the human mind works. But what I will say is that if you do teach them well from an early age, then what you will get is they will be able to buttress that bullshit. So let me rephrase. I agree somewhat. I do agree somewhat, but not necessarily all the way. Because the thing about it is it's not like it used to be, right? Because a lot of parents literally give their kids unfettered access to most tablets and phones and shit by like the time they're like 5 or 6. Like, I've seen it, and it's literally the new sit your kid in front of the TV to raise them. Yeah, that's a good thing to say, but it's a lot harder to do in real life, especially when you don't have the foundation to understand what critical thinking actually is, because you weren't educated properly in your early part of your education. Half the problem of our education system is that it's turning to shit because of corruption and like teachers unions and stupid shit like that. So it's a lot. You can't just fix it with platitudes. That's the thing, right? So we can say we could teach critical thinking, but just creating a critical thinking class that you take in 9th grade is not going to fix the problem, right? And in fact, I think that we should take a lot more shit out of schools, because as someone who's an ultra fucking mega nerd, I was literally held back because I was sick one day in 8th grade, and it completely affected the rest of my tenure in the school that I was at. So I wasn't allowed to take calculus when I was in 12th grade, even though I was more than able to, and I literally had my teachers just teach me calculus anyway. Right? I was learning college level math when I was in 10th grade. Because I'm a fucking nerd, and I would stay after and I would ask them to explain shit to me. Because I would read books about relativity and fucking string theory, and I'm like, I don't fucking understand any of these fucking problems. Can you understand why I can't understand this math? What's going on? Where does this math come from? And then they literally just fucking explain it to me. I'm like, oh, okay. And then by the time I got to fucking actual college and I'm doing calculus, it was, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was still hard, but it was a lot easier because I understood the underlying like mental concepts that are required to understand this shit, because I had it explained to me in fucking high school by one-on-one tutoring. Because I loved my math teachers, because they were all those types of teachers who, if they found a student who wanted to learn, they would literally pour as much knowledge as they could into them. I had good teachers. I had good math teachers. I'll say that. And there were quite a few of us who were like that. I had a couple other nerds with me. Once they found out what I was doing, I brought them along. It was really cool. Like, literally a high school math teacher teaching 10th graders fucking college level course for 20 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week after school. On everybody's doing it on their own. There's no credits, there's no classes, there's no organization. It's literally just, I wanted to learn a concept, so she started teaching me, and it started to become a thing. And the other nerds found out, and they wanted to join. It was fucking beautiful. And it was like 3 or 4 of us. That was it. But that's all that mattered. Most people don't know how to think. That is true. That is true. They just do it intuitively because most people are stupid. Their intuition is bad. Yes. And not only that, it's a lot of it is ration. A lot of people, the vast majority of us, including me, make decisions because we have monkey brains that make most of the decisions. And then our rational brain rationalizes the reasons why we needed to do what our monkey brain decided. Or more importantly, you could use this as an analogy. Your brain, who you are, is literally a man riding an elephant, a gigantic elephant. And so the ape brain is the elephant. That's the emotional part of your psyche, of who you are. And for most of the man on top is your rational brain. It is the human level intelligence that rationalizes and makes rational decisions in your life. And most of us, this is how most of us are. And so when you become emotionally enraged, it's really hard for your logical, rational side to take control and make decisions for yourself. And most of the time what happens is that your elephant runs around rampaging while the rational, logical side is holding on, rationalizing the things that you were doing. This is how you can get horrible people doing horrible things, and they literally have gaslit themselves into believing that they're correct. Kind of like the Eric Cartman effect, right? Where he literally remembers history wrong because because if he had to remember it correctly, he would have to come to the fact that he's a piece of shit. Some people recognize that and can overwrite the monkey brain institutions. I don't believe that most people really can. All most of us can do is keep the elephant under control. And that's it. I have faith in humanity, but that doesn't mean I need to build a false image of humanity. And that's what I'm trying to do, right? Is I'm trying to be realistic about the limitations that we as humans have. And one of them is emotional control. The vast majority of us cannot control our emotions. And the vast majority of us are ruled by our emotions to the point where, even when you think you're being logical, you're actually making emotional decisions and ad hoc rationalizing on the end of it to justify your decision making. But they can be taught how to do better to some degree. You are correct, and I do believe that critical thinking is something that should be taught in school, and sometimes it is. Like, I had debate club, I had good science teachers too, and I had debate club and stuff like that. So I was taught critical thinking by proxy because you have to critically think to be able to debate, right? Even if you're using shitty debate tactics, you still have to be able to critically think to do that because most of the things that you're debating have no emotional involvement for you, right? Most of the stuff I debated, I didn't like. Getting rid of after-school programs, I debated in favor of ending after-school programs that I liked and benefited from. Why did I debate that? Because it was cool and interesting. So I could literally look at something that I disagree with and come up with good arguments as to why I should do it. And I literally used fucking Abraham Lincoln as my primary model. I got an award for that shit. Now, this wasn't like a school board thing. No, it was literally debate club. We went to a debate thing and we had debates with other people. That was the whole point. So it was just a competition, right? Like any kind of sport. But what I'm pointing out is that I often chose things I disagreed with because I'm not emotionally involved for the most part, and it's not going to be law or anything. So it's like, oh, I want this to be interesting. Let me see if I can actually do this. Do I have the intelligence and ability to argue for something that I do not agree with? And the answer is fucking yeah, right, I do. First and foremost, things you have to do is just be honest with yourself, and that's very hard. Yes, that is the hardest thing for the vast majority of people to do is to be honest with oneself. And it's why I consistently say things like I'm a degenerate and a reprobate, because I am. It's why I call myself an ADHD addled retard. It's because I am. And I'm honest about it. And if you wear it like armor, it can never be used against you. Right? Like my military past. I'm disabled. You know, the military chewed me up and spit me out. That's how it works sometimes. It is a gigantic machine that will destroy your body, unfortunately. And sometimes you don't die. Sometimes you keep on going. And you just got to suck it the fuck up and move on. That's where I'm at. You know what I mean? You got to own your bullshit. And it took me so long. And Dude, I went through so much hell, and I was literally in hell, man. This is why, like, while I'm not religious at all, I'm completely an atheist. I still use religious terms like hell and heaven and God, and I say these things, but the deeper meaning behind them is what it is, the truth that lies behind the fantastical nature that is religion. I.e., hell is an actual physical place, and almost all of us have been there. Have you ever felt so fucking bad in your life that you could almost remember that you might have wanted to end your life? That is hell. that is hell. That's what that is. And I've been through hell many times, and I've come out the other side. And it's the same, and I keep fucking bringing it up, the story of Job. If you're going through hell, you got to keep on going, dude. Don't lose faith in God. And when I say God, I don't mean God, the fucking magical fairy dude that lives in the sky. I mean like life, creation, humanity, all of us. If you give up on that, if you allow it to corrupt your soul and to hate life and God and everything else in the world, then you turn into how many of you know somebody like this? Who's literally just, and I'm not talking about like racist stuff. I'm talking about just in general. They're just so full of hate and vitriol for everything. It's obvious they hate their life. It's obvious they hate everybody around them. And they just use that, and they use that hate against everybody they know to make everybody's life as miserable as they feel. This is what happens. This is where you go. What does it mean to be a centrist in America? Well, for most people, being a centrist means that you're a fucking fence sitter who doesn't have any policy positions or principles. And for me, centrist really doesn't describe anything because left and right no longer mean the things that they used to. Basically, essentially, what it means is that you have policies on the left and policies on the right that you agree with. That you don't agree with the left wholeheartedly and you don't agree with the right wholeheartedly. You agree with a multitude of things that they have. Like, for instance,